Hello and a very warm welcome. This is the first podcast of a new venture brought to you by me, Neil Moxley and Colin Tattum, lifelong Birmingham City supporters and career Birmingham City reporters. Called Forever Blues, we're hoping to bring you a comprehensive view on all matters related to the club. Whether that's breaking news, stories, opinion or analysis, we'll be across the major events at St Andrews, hopefully breaking them down for you by presenting them across the web on foreverblues.co.uk and through our podcast and YouTube channel. We hope our offering will become the go-to place for your blues news, and if we can't break stories, and we will, then we'll get you the next best thing, the lowdown on the truth of the matter. We're aiming to become trusted voices, but we're aware that the relationship can only be built over time. So we'd like you to join us on this journey as the good times hopefully come to pass in B9. And we haven't said that too often in the past 10 years, have we? Our deepest gratitude to Davison's Law, a multi-service legal practice with offices throughout Birmingham and the West Midlands. Thank you and welcome. And also to our junior partners, that's Drain Tech, Cliff and the guys in Redditch, AMG Logistics, who operate a stone's throw away from St Andrews, and Beadle Spirits, run by a die-hard blues fan. So a warm welcome to them too. Right, without further ado, let's get cracking. I'd like to open it up by asking Col what the recruitment team were thinking, what their thought processes were, rather, when they sat down at the end of the season, or actually probably even before then, because it was fairly obvious what was going to happen. And what were they looking to achieve?
I think it was a continuation of the policies and strategies they'd put in place in terms of recruitment, but with a little bit of a twist, bearing in mind that the club's in the Championship now. I think we saw last season the quality of the players that came in were basically with an eye on promotion and being Championship ready, helping the squad become Championship ready. So this summer, it's clear that they've added to that, but also added with some experience. A lot of the players coming in a little bit older than previously, plus the knowledge and know-how of how to handle pressure and big games. You know, you've got people who've played in the Premier League, who've played in the Champions League internationally. So you can see what's happened there in terms of the recruitment. But the pleasing thing for me, it's a continuation. There's a process in place now. It's not scattergun. It's not literally huge turnovers of players every summer. There is a plot to it, if you want. There's a line that you can see that's developing, and also which I have found something quite fascinating that has sort of slipped under the radar a little bit. The club partnered with a firm called Gradient Sports a couple of weeks back. I mean, they're huge. All the NFL teams use them, and basically their sort of processes, their data, their metrics, Blues are partnering with them so they can build their own bespoke model, really, when it comes to recruitment. Again, it's more of the investment to try to be best in class, that, as we've seen under the United ownership, that is happening. So yeah, it's pleasing to see, and you know that it's common sense, that it's professional, and there's a clear path, there's a clear thread developing in terms of Blues recruitment.
Have you been a bit surprised that some of the early transfers that the club's done have been effectively free transfers? I mean, or do you think that was part of the overall plan? I mean, we're a bit in the dark really with respect to, for want of a better word, profit and sustainability in the Championship. Clearly, there's been losses sustained in the last few years. But were you surprised to see them go after the free transfers, or do you think that, given the long run that they had, and the club probably knew it was going to be promoted sort of halfway through April, if not before, that they actually went down that route?
Not really. No, I think again it was probably common sense. The club has to be mindful of PSR, obviously. So if good players are available, if they're either on loans or they're frees, there's no transfer fee involved, it makes sense to go and get them, because that gives you a bigger pot to when you do have to go out and spend a bit of money. So I understand the thought process. And again, it's things have been clearly mapped out. It's not, again, I use the word scattergun like we've seen in previous years. Notably that trolley dash under Harry Redknapp, which the club spent years recovering from, really. So no, it doesn't really surprise me, and I'm fascinated to see how the new players are assimilated and how they're embedded by Chris Davies, because clearly he's going to tweak a little bit how the team plays this season, because probably we're not going to be having 70-odd% possession, and it won't be a case of, as he used to call it, pounding the rock. There'll be different aspects to how Blues are going to get results this season, and I know you've seen a few of the players, obviously a lot more than I have, and I'm quite intrigued to get your view. And Tommy Doyle in particular, you've seen him a bit playing for Wolves, and how he fits in, and because I understand, he can play a couple of roles, so I'm just curious to see where his best role may be.
Yeah, look, we're speaking after the final pre-season game against Nottingham Forest, and we saw the lineup, and it'll probably be quite similar to the one that Chris Davies fields on Friday night against Ipswich. My view on Doyle is it's the first time I've seen him play so close to the main striker. I've always seen him previously sort of in a deeper role than that. Wolves tend to like their players to drive forward with the ball. They're quite energetic. I think the likes of Cunha and Andre and Joe Gomez, and Sarabia, I know he's gone now, but all follow a pretty similar pattern. Nelson Semedo can get up the pitch with the ball as well as Ainouri. But look, I don't think Tommy Doyle necessarily fitted in with that, and I think Vitor Pereira's comments at the end of the season were absolutely fair about him. He's just not the type of player at the moment that Wolves need. So, said that, he's a really intelligent passer. He's a combative little so-and-so in the middle of midfield. People will enjoy watching him play. He's industrious. He's come through Manchester City. He's from a good footballing stock. The Doyle name, he's synonymous with Manchester City for anybody, old enough like us to remember, to remember some of his forefathers. So look, I like him a lot. It was a signing that really excited me. There's been a few that have, I'm going to ask your opinion now on the other main talk. One of the other main talking points, the necessity of bringing, a proper competition for the, in terms of the goalkeeping situation. Were you surprised to see that?
Probably, yeah. I think most people were, because Blues have had two capable goalkeepers in the building anyway, and Ryan Allsop got the number one shirt by right last season, and he was excellent. Bringing in James Beadle, it's very interesting, because Beadle and James Trafford are the two goalkeepers that a lot of people with better knowledge of football than I believe will be competing to replace Jordan Pickford as England's number one over time. So it's a really intriguing move, and what I also find interesting about that, I don't think Blues are now a club that will be pandering and be desperate to get players from other clubs on loan, and nor will they be bending the knee to say, yes, we will definitely play him. From what Chris Davies has said and what the other loan signings have said, they're actually going to have to earn their place. There's no guarantees that they will be playing week in and week out, and obviously with goalkeepers, only the one can get the spot, and at the moment, Ryan Allsop is the man in possession, as we've seen in the pre-season games, the split squad friendlies. There's a clear distinction. So that's fascinating, because obviously Brighton and Hove Albion will have wanted Beadle to get more experience to put on his CV, but it's not necessarily going to be that's the case. He's not going to be walking straight into the side, and from a Blues perspective, that's great, because there is genuine competition, not just in the goalkeeping spots, but it seems across the whole of the squad. It's it's that old cliche, isn't it? Two players for every position. Again, you look at the right back situation. Ethan Laird was outstanding last season in that role, but he looks like he's coming out of the team as well, which another interesting one with bright Osayi-Samuel coming in. Interesting to get your thoughts on that one, Mox, because again, was it a position that needed an upgrade, so to speak?
Yeah, I look at the Bright Osayi-Samuel thing, and I'm just taking a step back here and looking at the fact that the guy, it's so rare for any English player to last more than a season in Turkey for whatever reason. They normally go out there, shine for like 6 months, and then there's a row about whether or not they're getting paid, and they come home. I mean, Bright has been out there for 4 years. He's played for a massive club in Fenerbahce. Obviously, you've seen the pictures of, everybody's seen the pictures of the Turkish derbies out there, and I'm fortunate enough to have been out to the old Ali Sami Yen stadium where Galatasaray used to play, and it's every bit as mental as you might expect. So he's played in those. He's played for that club for 4 years. He's come out the other side. I think he's at great age now. He's an experienced international with Nigeria. I think the kid's got some. He's played for Jose Mourinho for a year as well and come through that unscathed. It's for me, Ethan Laird, won't want to hear this, but he's probably a little bit of an upgrade. And the fact is, the one thing I would say about Osayi-Samuel is he's got a good record of having played matches. He's been available for a lot of matches. The one thing slight thing you might say about Ethan Laird is that he has missed a big chunk so far. Certainly the season before last he did. I'm not denigrating in any way, shape or form, but I just think there is is Bright Osayi-Samuel a genuine upgrade? Possibly, but that's for Ethan Laird to sort out, isn't it, as well? So, coming back to, just throwing it back to yourself, Cole, we've looked at another feature of it has been the purchase of 2 Japanese players, Fujimoto and Furuhashi. What did you make of that?
Interesting. Chris Davis obviously trusts Japanese players, South Asian players. Sorry. He likes their work ethic, their tactical flexibility, their good characters. And Kyogo for me is a fascinating one. Alfie May moved on. Alfie May did a great job for Blues. No sentiment in football, is there? Let's face it. He was popular. He embraced the move. He scored goals. He helped the club get promotion, and he's been moved on. Kyogo's come in, Champions League experience, a modern day Celtic legend, and he's a different type of player, similar-ish to May, but his movement, the runs he makes, he won't necessarily get involved in build-up. He won't have that many touches, but where he is on the pitch and where he pops up, he's like that poacher, and he's going to cause problems. A lot of it will be unseen off the ball. It's the runs he makes. He will drag defenders away. He'll open up space for others, and he can finish in and around the box. So for me, he's been brought in to add another weapon to the armoury. You need goals to get out of the Championship, goals from everywhere. And I think he's another cog in that wheel. A different way of opening up defences, a different way of scoring. And also, I think Blues have addressed the fact with on transitions, they're looking to be a bit more pacey, a bit more direct, a bit more powerful this season as well. And that takes us back to the recruitment and the kind of players that Blues have identified and Chris Davis has signed.
Just moving it on from the recruitment, Cole, obviously the other big talking point this summer was the Amazon Prime documentary built in Birmingham, Tom Brady and the Blues. What did you've sat through all 5 episodes, I haven't quite just yet. What's your overriding impression, mate?
I binge watched it like I think a lot of people did. Overall, I thought it was very well crafted, very well paced, edited, and you'd expect that with the people involved. And I think I've done a bit for the website, for the Forever Blues website on it. That it's not so much for us as Blues followers, fans, aficionados. It's more for an American audience or a wider world audience. They're hanging the hat on, the NFL GOAT, a sporting superstar, coming in with his mate Wags, as he calls him, to turn round this underachieving second city earthy club that has a little bit of undertones of sort of hooliganism and violence, throwing a few Peaky Blinders references. So that's the hook, that's the story. And what I liked about it wasn't so much a fly on the wall documentary. It was sort of, there's a lot of human interest stories in it. It was more sit-down interviews with the key protagonists, and also the fans that were interviewed and used and focused on. it struck just the right tone. Now, some people are they'll chuck brickbats at Tom Brady just because, but I found him a very fascinating character in that there's a lot more layers to him than I realised before. He's very empathetic, and his dealings with Chris Davis really interesting. There's obviously a mutual respect there. Tom Brady clearly sees a lot of his inner drive and competitiveness in Chris Davis. So that dynamic was very interesting. And it's not a welcome to Wrexham type story. And I think, although obviously Blues are playing upon that in the course of the documentary, they're also making it clear this is a start of a journey. We have got big ambitions. So yeah, I think there will be more series, and there will be a few more bumps in the road, a bit more jeopardy, which obviously as viewers you like that controversy. But as an opening gambit, I thought it was entertaining, and to try to take away your bias of knowing the club, being a Blues follower, watching them. I still think there was a lot there for the casual viewer and the non-Blues fan, as it were.
It was interesting. We went and spoke to Chris Davis last week, and one of the questions obviously was regarding his relationship with Brady, and it does seem to be a professional one. They might have been thrown together by fortune, but I think Chris Davis, being the uber meticulous sort of coach, and he prides himself on his preparation. I think that's fair to say, Blues manager. And he sort of said he's found a bit of a kindred spirit in Brady. He said Tom's very much, not about the end result so much as making the most of every single bit of preparation time that you can, so that when you actually go on the field of play, there aren't any sort of nasty surprises. You do know, if the opposition changes formation, exactly what to do to counter it. And I think it's that attention to detail, that focus on preparation. And obviously, certain stories, transmit from one sport to another, and I think that's what Chris does. And I do feel, yes, they're going to have, there's going to be an obvious tie-up and all the rest of it, but I do genuinely think there's a mutual respect there, and certainly from Chris Davis's point of view, I genuinely think, yes, it makes for a great storyline and all the rest of it, but he has taken some, quite a bit of knowledge from the NFL superstar. Right, we're just going to move it forward right from that towards, obviously, the big kick-off against Ipswich Town. Friday night, under the lights, should be absolutely off the scale good, really. I mean, what do you think we can expect? What are you looking forward to? Is everybody going to get carried away unnecessarily? Is it going to be a Barnsley in the playoff final about 20-odd years ago, 0-4, when we got... a whole season's work went down the drain in 15 minutes. But I just wondered what your sort of thoughts were, mate.
First, let's stop that mindset. It's not going to be typical Blues. We're not going to be 3-4 down against Barnsley. It's a new dawn. It's a new era. Come on, let's buy into it, mate.
Come on.
I mean, the game's been sold out for months. Straight away, Friday night, Sky, under the lights. I can imagine the first 10-15 minutes are going to be pretty crazy in terms of atmosphere, intensity. I'm guessing like the Newcastle United FA Cup game. And if Blues can, if we could score early, if we could set down a marker, the game could be, I don't know, could be anything. But again, we're all waiting for it, eagerly anticipating it. How long have we said that in the last 10 years or so? St Andrews has been a pretty soulless place and a depressing place, but not anymore. So yeah, and it will be interesting, although it's the first game, it will be interesting if Blues can, like I said, set a marker down. And also, it'll be a good measure. But Ipswich, obviously, back-to-back promotions, got relegated just out of the Premier League. They will be there or thereabouts in the top two, I'd imagine, this season. So if Blues can get off to a good start, momentum counts for a lot in football. Momentum really does. So yeah, I'm sure, like everyone else, I'm really looking forward to it. Your thoughts? I don't know where the game, could be won and lost, and what do you think that Blues have to do to edge it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it. I mean, it sounds cliche, doesn't it? But everything in football is a cliche nearly these days. You know, when clubs come down, it takes a bit out of them. I don't think people quite appreciate on the, you know, there's this enormous effort to get into the Premier League. Then there's this enormous outpouring of joy when they realise they're in the big, and it's happened to Blues. And then you come down and it's almost, whew, there's a big letdown and whatever. Now, you know, Ipswich will probably go one of two ways. They'll either come and fight fire with fire, and they'll, you know, and let's face it, it's a game where they know they're going to be up against it from the minute they step off the team bus. You know, everything's stacked against them, raucous home crowd, home players are going to be up for it, the spotlight's on the game. Or alternatively, you know, they shine to the shot. I think, you know, they've got a number of players have departed. I still think Sam Morsey is a big loss for them, to be perfectly honest with you. I really think he was an understated player. I know they went down last year, but I think he was an integral part of them coming through the leagues. They've obviously lost the spearhead in Liam Delap, so that's going to be a bit of a blow. But they're going to have, you know, populated by, you know, players that want to prove they can play in the Premier League again. Do I think it's a good barometer? Yes, I do, because like you, I think they're going to be up there. Do I think it's a good time to play them? Yes, I do, because you know, if once they get into the straps, once they get the momentum, they'll be winning games week after week after week. So, you know, let's, you know, try and head them off at the pass. Let's try and get our own season off to a flyer. And it could be, you know, the sort of confidence boosting, morale boosting, you know, start, you know, that we want. I mean, I was just going to say, Colin, it looks as though, you know, there's one or two improvements around the ground that people may or may not be aware of. Speaking to John Clark last week, fan engagement officer, regarding, I think they're going to put a canopy over some of the drinking areas on the Cop car park, which will be good. And I know that the club's taking the issue of the car stripping, which just gets my goat no end, really seriously, and they're liaising with West Midlands Police to try and come up with a solution for it. So those just a couple of tidbits that I'm hoping that sort of prove that Blues are listening to supporters and they are trying to do things properly. I mean, just looking ahead, what do you think, you know, away from the Ipswich game, what is going to be a good return this season? What do you think people are hoping for? I mean, I know Chris Davis last Thursday said, you know, I want to be competitive, which is a bit of a cop out, really, to be honest with you. I mean, last year he just went promotion, which is fair enough. But what do you think is a good return?
A good return is promotion, isn't it?
Yeah.
I know I'm sounding like Tom Wagner, Tom Brady, but that's what the owners are aiming for. Whether they're demanding it is another issue. With what Blues are doing, the squad they're building, and like I said, the momentum that the club has got, everything's on the up. It's a good place to be at. Players want to be there. They're busting a gut for the shirt as well, and the way the team's playing. I'd be surprised if Blues weren't top six. The Championship is a long old slog, as we know. It's a league of runs. You can win 3-4 on the spin, be right up there. Then you can go 3-4 without winning, and you can suddenly slide down the table again. It's just holding your nerve. But if you have, you know, man for man, a very quality in your squad and depth in it, and also, like I keep saying, you know, where Blues have come from, got relegated, reset, everything's changed about the club in terms of on the pitch, off the pitch, and also that mentality. We've got a very good chance this season, and I just hope that maybe there's not too much expectations, not too much demands placed on them, maybe from the terraces as well. But again, it brings me back. Chris Davis, Craig Gardner and the recruitment team, they've brought in players who they clearly believe will be able to handle that sort of situation, which maybe in recent seasons we've not had that. So yeah, I mean, we're talking here before a ball's been kicked. Let's reconvene on this one midway through the season, then we'll get a better handle on things. But 100%, I think we're all enthused and we're all going into a championship season for once, where we can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, that's the main thing, isn't it? That's the point. Everything's sort of pointing to geared towards success. Rather too many times, I mean, I know you did a a pretty impassioned sort of call to arms after the Bolton game, 11 years ago now, sort of saying it shouldn't never be allowed to happen again. And sadly, it has been allowed to happen again, hasn't it, really? And for the last decade, we've all sort of gone into it thinking, oh, blimey, I don't know what really to expect here. If we stay up, perhaps things will get better next year. Well, things are going to get better this year, hopefully, aren't they? And it's great to go into it, like you say, feeling on the up, and really looking forward to it, and not knowing really what the season will bring. Which is, let's be fair, it's par for the course in the Championship. One thing's for certain, it's not going to be a record. I'll be very surprised if it's another record-breaking year, to be honest with you.
I'd add to that as well that if we want to be really sort of cold about it, Blues are only back to where they started, back in the Championship. That was the start point under the United ownership. But we're back at this stage far better equipped in so many aspects, in my opinion. The foundations are there for the club to, for once, not finish around 17th, 20, just avoid relegation on the last day. Definitely, Blues will be competitive this season.
Well, I think that just about wraps up our first podcast. I really hope you enjoyed it. Before we go, I'd just like to say a big thank you again to our sponsors, Davidson's Law. The other thing to point out is that if you would give us a follow on all our socials, that's foreverblues.co.uk. We'll be on Twitter and Insta and everything, and TikTok even, I believe, as well. You can tell all that one's passed me by. That's somebody else's gig, not mine. And you don't know, I might even start unblocking a few people on Twitter if things go really well in the next few weeks and months. Look, if you've listened to this, we've really enjoyed having you with us. We aim to do this on a weekly basis going forward. We hope you to join us all in the future. And for now, keep right on.